Howdy, y'all. My name is Professor Parks, PhD, and this is my channel. First thing I'd like to do is I'd like to figure out whether or not people out there in the internet lands can actually hear me. So, I am going to minimize this, and minimize that. Where did the chat go? Oh, it's over here. Okay, never mind. That's going to be annoying. Let's bring you all down here. So, dun, dun, dun. So howdy all. Oh, great. Howdy, Judy and Stephanie. Apparently you all can see and hear me, which is excellent. That is basically what I would like. Later I will be switching screens, or trying to do a screen share, so that'll be fun. Because, yeah, I'm trying to get all snazzified and actually use OBS, which has a lot more features, bells and whistles, that sort of thing. Anyway. So as I said, my name is Professor Ron Parks, PhD, and I make content on astronomy. I just had a McConnell moment there. I make content on astronomy, alternative science, shall we say, and mental health. And so tonight I'm going to be focusing in on that alternate ways of looking at science kind of thing. I got an email from, I believe, I don't want to get his name wrong. No, is this it? Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Where did it go? Well, you'll have to forgive me. Apparently I had this up, and now it seems to be gone. Ah, there it is. John Kerwin. Mr. Kerwin emailed me, and apparently he had emailed me before, and somehow I had missed it. But he emailed me asking if I would be interested in interviewing him with respect to his book, The Conspiracy Theorist Survival Guide. And he said that essentially he was prompted to write this because of certain personal history he had with loved ones. And so I thought, well, yeah, that would be great. I would love to have him on. And I haven't heard back from him, although I don't even think it's been a day yet, so no fault on him. But I thought maybe it might be fun to actually go through this survival guide and just see what it's all about. And that way I can be more informed as to what kind of questions I would like to ask him, and I would give my audience a chance to also figure out questions that they would like me to answer, or me to ask John. And so if there are questions as we go along that you would like me to ask John, please feel free to put them in the chat or put them in the comments section. It would be lovely for either of them. Okay. I'm attempting to pop out the chat so I can actually see people. There we go. All right. Sir Little Wolf, pet. How are you? Hope you all are doing well. I am drinking a big old cup of coffee because, as always, I have been suffering from a wicked case of insomnia, so I figured I might as well, just double down on it. All right, let's see here. I don't know why I need a coaster. And this particular mug is snazzy in that when you don't have a hot beverage, it actually is just a normal Starfield. But you put something hot in it, it has, this whole nebula thing going on. Just kind of cool. All right. Let's see here. Okay. Now, let us see if we can... Oh, there's Luna. That is not what I want. Let me look at this. Over here. Oh. I apologize. I'm trying to get things set. I don't know, Luna. I don't know what you want. I am clueless as to. All right, I'm going to do this. I am going to remove that. I know it's quite a show to watch me do this. And we're going to do that. Yes, yes, yes. We're going to do that. Okay. Put me way up here. And let's see here. Window capture. Documents. Nope. I don't want any of those, I don't think. No. Hold on a second. Yep, that's what I want. I will get this at some point, I'm sure. Maybe. Show windows with empty names. How about that? YouTube music, no. Applications, no. Document. Ah, there it is. Whoop. All right. I think. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Let's do this. Oh, okay. That's not what I wanted to do, but that'll work. All right, let me get the... Let's see here. All right, so I switched it over. So hopefully you should be able to see that. Okay, great. Great. So hopefully you should all be able to see the Conspiracy Theorist Guide. As you can see, it's a whopping 306 pages. So this will be very interesting, I think. I hope. Let me do this. Hello, Luna. Oh. So, you can see Luna. Luna! Look. Nick. Meow. Yeah, I know. I'm not petting you. Yeah, I know. So neglectful. I'm just a big neglectful dad. All right, now you got it. Thanks. All right. So, all right. Where was I? Where I was talking about the Conspiracy Theorist Survival Guide. And I have it over here, so it's going to be weird. A guidebook for persecuted truthers. All right. It's interesting that John would use that sort of terminology. I don't know if I would go with the whole persecuted aspect of things, but that is his prerogative, and I perfectly understand how someone might feel that way, given what I've seen on various Discord channels and within comment sections. So, okay. But it seems to, for me, and I could be wrong, and I'd love to know your opinions on this, it seems to start off with an antagonistic tone. Which, again, I cannot fault anyone for, particularly if they feel persecuted. Is this good for me? I don't think this is good for me. I want to do this. I had every intention of getting on here like an hour early, getting everything set up the way I wanted it, and being good that way. But, yeah, work had Work had other plans. So let's see if I can do this without messing everything up. Yep, that seemed to mess everything up. So let's put this back to where I found it. There we go. All right. All right. Yep. Seemingly just messing everything up. All right. All right. So Sir Little Wolf says that it does not seem healthy. Yeah. Oh, Sir Little Wolf, ye of little faith. That's two tabs that you can see. I actually have three Chrome browsers open with numerous tabs in the other one. So I am doing amazingly high IQ research. All right, so I want to do this. There we go. Better transition. Awesome. All right, so let's look at this. Let's get into it. All right, boring. Special thanks. It says to Jenny, the one that God gave me children, my study guide family. Let's see. PhD level content that anyone can understand is David Strait and Bobby Lawrence. And then down here we have Jesus. I worship you every morning when I lift up my soul. You fill me with joy unspeakable. And maybe I got that wrong. Maybe the PhD level content was Anthony. I'm having a little bit of difficulty identifying ellipses from dashes, but there you go. So right off the bat, and I have to be honest in that I already kind of knew this was coming. But yes, there is going to be a large amount of faith-driven content, Christian faith-driven content. So, if I don't want to use the words, trigger warning or anything of that nature, but as you might expect, there is quite a bit of it in here from what little I've seen. So, trying to think of, is this? Okay. Yes, I can scroll. So, how is that in terms of? Can you all read that? I can read it, obviously. All right. So, Section 1, Inside the Minds of Truthers, which includes, this book is for those that see. Chapter 2 is, Becoming a Truther Cost Me Everything. That is something of a common refrain, or at least something that I've definitely heard before with other flat earthers or science skeptics. Chapter 3, the truth is not optional for a truther. Okay. Section 2, Inside the Mind of the Unconvinced. Chapter 5, Why Normies Do What They Do. Normies? I'm really not a fan of Globers either, but we do need to come up with a little bit, I don't know, maybe, well, we didn't, we have the terms flurf, so there's really I don't really have a leg to stand on, but, in a book format, is normies the right approach that you want to use if you actually want to actually want to have a fruitful conversation. But as I say this, I haven't read section 1 yet. So, or the first part of chapter 1, which is, who is this book for? So it may be that this book is just not for me. It's not written for me. So therefore, Normies is Normies is a fine way of going. And yes, Stephanie, I realize that, often called flirts. I really do not really attempt to not use that term. I don't care for it. I certainly don't use the flat ta, that word with the erd at the end of it. I particularly don't like that phrasing. But really, I'm just kind of curious as to the tone of the book, just by looking through its context, or its table of contents. So, anyway, Chapter 5, Why Normies Do What They Do. Chapter 6, The 3 Stages of Rejection. Chapter 7, Observations About Ultimatums. Chapter 8 is How Normies Attack. Okay. Again, that seems to make the assumption, well, maybe I'm putting that in there, that the assumption is that we normies are all going to attack. I guess it might just be the attacks by certain normies. Again, this reads somewhat stereotypically, so as if we're painting everyone under the same brush, but I haven't gotten into it. Nimrod fits in the new meaning. You saw him on interviews today. You mean John Kerwin? Is that who I'm looking at? John Kerwin. I will remember that name. I am determined. So was he on interviews earlier today? Because he did tell me that he has been interviewed by people in the past, and so I'd be curious to know how those interviews went. I think he did provide me with some links as to those interviews, so perhaps I'll put them in the description. Along with that, if any of you would like a copy of his book is free. I can give you. Hopefully John is not going to be upset by this, but I can put the link of the book in the description, or unless John watches this and tells me not to, then what have you. But I think he said it was free. I think the book is free, which, hey, you got to give him that. Writing a 306-page book and just giving it away, my kind of dude. Oh, you looked him up on YouTube? Yeah. I oddly enough, I had a rather full day with work, so I didn't really have the chance to actually do that yet. All right. Chapter 9, The Conflict is Inevitable. That, yes, I can certainly agree with that, particularly if you're going to espouse these viewpoints to the general public. They are going to be challenged. So therefore, yes, they're going to be challenged, and so therefore there's going to be conflict as a result of it. So I cannot disagree with that point. Chapter. There we go. Okay. Chapter 11, the demographics of the truther community. I may go immediately to that, because I am curious what he has to say about the demographics. Granted, there are no subsections, so or subchapters, so who knows what's lying in there. And then Chapter 12, Why Truthers Are Willing to Lose Everything. Interesting. I wouldn't have thought that would be the case in all cases. Depending on what you mean by everything. Obviously, people in the flat earth community or 5G or what have you, obviously a number of them have lost friends, no longer speak to certain loved ones. I will not deny that that happens. But lose everything? Perhaps they have also lost some jobs. We'll see. How long was a 300-proof book? I have no idea. Chapter 13. Resources, what to do next, and action steps. All right. You know what? Let's do this kind of in a backward sort of way. Let's do this from a chapter 11 to chapter 12 to chapter 13. Unless any of you saw a chapter that you would specifically like me to go to, then I will go to that. And it occurred to me just now that I don't think I advertised this talk amongst Discord. I don't think I even had time to do that. So, well, hopefully people will watch it. Anyway, all right. 258, although I think it's a little bit beyond that. Maybe not that far beyond. Oh, that's reasons. Nope. Chapter 11, the demographics of the truther community. I really hope that I can resist the urge to read you the book and just that. But let's just start off with it. Stephanie, I don't really want to keep you guys, but if someone else wants to advertise this on various Discords, then please feel free to do so. But I just want to, at this point, I want to just kind of focus in on y'all who are here. Thank you for being here. If I haven't said already, howdy to Meraki. All right, so the opening paragraph is, very few can deny that there is a great awakening taking place in these last hours of the church age. Okay. God is pulling back the veil for all who are seeking to know the truth, and the truth, capital T, is bringing a diverse demographic of people together who would not normally congregate. The truther community consists of a hodgepodge of different belief systems, all assembling around these shared conspiracy theories. All right. Maybe he alludes to the last hours of the church age earlier in the book, or maybe this is something I need to ask him as we go along. And you know what? I am going to start making notes. Ha. Okay. So, church age. I have to look at that. Lowercase church, so obviously he's not talking about ye old Catholics. But I also, now that I've read this, I have to, it occurred to me earlier, but reading this has definitely put it into my mind that I'm obviously coming at this from a flat earth perspective, because those are the skeptics I am most familiar with dealing with. But, you know, obviously the skeptic community, as it were, is much larger. It includes not just flat earth, but includes the dangers of 5G. It includes vaccinations, or worries about vaccinations. It includes even darker things that I'm really not going to mention. Things that deal with the mass loss of life. Those type, or really just any loss of life. Those kind of ideas. So I will put that caveat that this book, I believe, is directed to all of them. So when he says that it is a hodgepodge of different belief systems, I'm making the assumption at the moment that what he's talking about are belief systems, in this case, are different conspiracy theories. Generally speaking, truthers don't care what your worldview or religion is. That's an interesting statement. If you believe the conspiracy theory, you are accepted. The truther community is a kind of an AA meeting in that sense. You will have Um, okay. I need to actually take this, adjust this a little bit. There we go. You will have blue-collar workers sitting right next to a bank president. Alcoholism doesn't differentiate between people in different socioeconomic strata in society, and neither does the conspiracy theory community. No, to suggest that advocating for truth is on par with alcoholism, but I think you get my point. It's funny that he should put that there because that was essentially where I was going to go first. It's in that it's interesting that he was equating the truther community to an AA meeting where one is trying to get comfort. Although, I can kind of see that. I have been to my fair share of AA meetings in the past, and you do get a sense of community, and you get and a large part of that community is talking about one's own experiences, usually negative experiences, and trying to get support from that community. So in that sense, I can see the equation. I can see how the two might relate to each other. What I find to be interesting, or not interesting, but what I find to be noteworthy is the whole don't care what your worldview or religion is. Now, coming from someone of the mainstream, coming as a normie, I'm going to own that term. I'm a normie. As a normie, I have not found that to be true at all. In the fact that usually if a truther is religiously motivated, then my religion or the normie's religion is certainly called into question. And if it isn't Christian, there are problems. And then even if it is Christian, you might still have problems. So yes, I don't know. I don't know if I believe that. I don't know if I would support that statement. He's talking about religions or spirituality. I don't think, Stephanie, I don't think he is, considering what I suspect. He is a fervent Christian. I don't know if he would really entertain the idea that there is such a thing as spirituality apart from Christianity. And again, even still, again, I'm a normie, so I don't know about what within the community itself, but I can tell you that truthers do care. Truthers who are religiously motivated do care what my religion is. Let's see. Having said that, truth is generally congregated around content creators that share their same worldview. Nor natural. I would say we all tend to do that. Challenges, truthers are in the minority. It's simply a supply and demand issue. Trying to find people you trust is difficult. Which leads me to ask the question, which creators do you trust and which ones don't you trust and why? Are there specific things that truthers look for in a content creator that are red flags as to whether or not they are worthy of being trusted or not? Or is it simply just a matter of choice, a matter of gut opinion? Who knows? Water doesn't stick to a spinning ball. Well, I would disagree with that, but that's not the point of this live stream. I'll let the folks in the chat latch on or talk about that if they want to. The vacuum of space is scientific impossible. Again, no. But anyway. So, I've seen this term come up. Maybe someone else is familiar with it. I am going to mispronounce the hell out of it. I am going to say, wake you porels. Wake you poor else? Wake you poor else. Wake you poor else. Wake you poor else. Wake you poor else. All right, wake you poor else. That's what I'm going to say. And of course, I'm not going to remember that later because, memory like a rusty plastic trap. Wake you poor else. See, I already did. Wake you porellos. Wake you porellos is a Christian fellowship for the truther community. Prime focus is providing biblical analysis of the Mandela effect, interesting, and challenges we face as truthers. John 14:6. I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. I am a Bible believer, therefore believe in the reality of heaven and hell. And I also agree with Paul in 1 Corinthians 13:2 that if I have the gift of prophecy and know all the mysteries and all knowledge, and if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but I don't have love, I am nothing. Excellent. Great quote. If you're going to quote mine the Bible, I have to say that is a fabulous one to take. If you all in the chat want to talk about flat earth dogma, feel free. But like I said, this is what I'm going to be chatting on. And I will say that, obviously, if you have seen my conversation with Jim Waterworld, whom I've actually lost track of. He hasn't DM'd me in quite a long time. And I really haven't seen him on the Discord, so I'm actually kind of wondering how he's doing. Anyway, if you've seen my stream about that, obviously you know that I'm a Christian, and I also believe in the reality of heaven and hell. I think that I differ from certain Christians as to my conception of what heaven and hell are, but I do believe that there is a heaven and that there is a hell. So, again, I can't disagree with him on this, or I'm not going to disagree with him. If you understand all mysteries, but you do not allow God to rule over you, then you are nothing. At the same time, I'll welcome any to my channel who hold a different view. Equal opportunity Christian creator. Okay. Wake up. That's what I'm going to call it. Wake up. So it is good. It is on this journey of exploring mysteries of the universe. So what good is it to be on a journey of exploring the mysteries of the universe if you do not have a relationship with the living God? This is what I'm talking about. This seems, again, if this book is for truthers, and he has already outlined that the truther community is a congregation of different worldviews and religion, his tone here seems to be very exclusionary. He basically says that if you do not believe in God, you are nothing. And also, he seems to imply here that looking for truth is meaningless unless you have a relationship with the living God. Well, what about those who aren't Christians? What about truthers who are not Christians? I imagine there must be one or two of them out there. So I don't know. I'm curious. Again, this is something that I would ask him about, I guess, is I believe that's pretty much just confirming that if you don't have God, then you have nothing. So why are you so stubborn when it comes to these truther things? Why are you willing to lose everything rather than recount your beliefs? Okay. That seemed, maybe I'm misunderstanding here, but this seems to be, again, a call to moving truthers who are not Christians to moving truthers to Christianity. Because why are you so stubborn when it comes to these truther things? And these truther things presumably are, you must have a relationship with a living God. Why are you willing to lose everything rather than recant your beliefs? Again, the way I'm reading this, skimming really, is your beliefs are from a religious standpoint rather than a normie truther standpoint. But I could be misunderstanding. Oh yeah, Stephanie. Again, fair warning. The little that I've skimmed through, there is a lot of evangelizing in this text. But I'm curious now. Chapter 12, why truthers are willing to lose everything. Reason 1, they have a duty to God. Not to sound like a broken record, but what about truthers who are not Christian? This reason does not seem to apply to them. And I'm not going to read this because it seems as if it's the normal evangelical, why would you not have God? Why would you not have God in your life? You are like Neo in the Matrix. Referencing the Matrix, that's kind of a truther thing to do. Red pill, all that. You can tell there is some kind of unseen realm that is influencing everything in the natural realm. Again, and this is really directed to any flat earthers who are watching. Is that what you feel? Do you feel as if you are being compelled to hold these alternative views or be skeptical because of some kind of unseen realm that is influencing the realm we're in? You've kept this feeling that you are trying to wake up, but some things just keep rolling along as usual. There was always an undefined uneasiness. It's the way he made you. There is a part of you that just wants to accept like everyone else, but you never have been one to compromise just to get a seat at the table of happiness. And again, correct me if I'm wrong, again, in the chat or in the comments. But to me, it reads here that not being a truther, or let's see, there's a part of you that wants to be accepted. Presumably that means to hold to normie ideals or normie ideas, just like everyone else. But you never have been one to compromise just to get a seat at the table of happiness. What I'm reading here is that, again, truthiness, to borrow a term from Colbert, truthiness is hand in hand with God. If you do not accept God, then you really are not accepting truth. So, again, I could be wrong, but that's what I'm reading for this. When you fell down in the rabbit hole, you found out there was a real war going on that you never knew about. It's like all the storylines from every superhero movie, where you have real villains with diabolical plans to kill everyone and rule the world. Okay, if you know me at all, you know my next question. Why? Why are these folks... obviously, why they are supervillains is kind of obvious. They want to kill everybody. But why do normies want to kill everyone and rule the world? That seems... And also, only a select few can rule the world, so shouldn't we start different? Maybe he does it earlier in the book, but maybe we should start differentiating between normies, or I guess people who are asleep, and the real supervillains who are surrounding these things. These films trick them into living vicariously through the superhero archetypes, inspiring them, basically keeping them asleep, I'm guessing. They hide the real thing in plain sight, neutralize your willingness to fight for real. When you mention things like The Matrix, they will scoff and say you're crazy. That's just science fiction. Instead of fighting the real supervillains like King of Debop, anyone have any idea what that's about? Hey, Dr. Clive, howdy. I don't know who the king of Debop is. Billy Gates of Hell. I don't know. They are giving over to being experts in all of the minutiae of the plot and subplots of these predictable programming masterpieces. Okay. They gain a sense of superiority because they are able to comprehend advanced scientific concepts that are being portrayed. All right, so yes, I can understand their point of view on this, and this I think has been a concept that I've been thinking about even outside the concept or context of conspiracy theories. Is the prejudice of the intelligentsia. Is there prejudice? Do smart people, on average, again, I'm painting people with a broad brush, and let me rephrase. People with higher education, do they think that people that do not have said education, that they are lower than them, or somehow not as valuable as them? Or do people who believe that they have some knowledge or some more advanced knowledge of, say, the heliocentric theory, and when confronted with flat earthers, do they feel like they are morally superior? Because this is what we're really talking about. When he talks about a sense of superiority, we're talking about a sense of moral superiority, that you are in fact better, in whatever meaning, better than they are, or perhaps of more worth than they are. Perhaps I'm reading too much into that, but that is what I have seen of this, and I'm not even a flat earther. I'm not a truther. So I've been battling, this is something I've been thinking about for decades, because I'm wondering whether or not I have encountered it myself in my academic career. And I would say yes, I have met people. Oh, howdy, Tony. I have met people who seem to hold themselves as if having a PhD or being of a, higher educational level does somehow make one better than, the plebs who didn't go to college or went to college and studied, English or something else. I particularly find this to be, granted, this is probably a selection effect, but I particularly find this to be case on scientists. But again, my experience with PhD level humanities professors is close to nothing, even though one of my good friends is an English professor. So I've been wondering how prevalent is this? Am I making it up? How prevalent is this? And why? Where does that come from? Is it because to get to this level, to get to a higher educational level, we have to go through a whole lot of crap? We have to put ourselves out there. We have to do a whole lot of work. It's not something that should be taken for granted. And there are people who don't succeed at it. There are people who drop out of grad school. Again, no judgments on them. It's just this is not what they are meant to do, or this is not something they want to pursue as rigorously as other people. Again, no judgment. So, so this is a sentiment that I have at least inferred from other flat earthers. Again, this book is for all conspiratorially minded people or truthers. But again, I'm just going to default to flat earth, is that this is something that I have implied from conversations that I've had with flat earthers or conversations that I've seen in Discord, particularly directed at me. Like, for instance, yesterday or the day before, I was pinged with something and they asked me, do you need a PhD in order to understand the scientific method? I said, no. But it helps to understand the context in which the scientific method is currently being used. and it also helps to understand the overall context of any particular science. So, I didn't get a response back, which I'm actually kind of glad about, because I really didn't really want to have that conversation. So, and that's something I think, if I were to get on my soapbox and, preach down to normies, is that I think that we need to be especially cognizant of that. I think we need to try not to appear arrogant or seem arrogant to flat earthers, because I'm pretty sure they can feel it. They can know that you're doing it, or or even worse, they expect you to do it. And if your goal is to educate or try to move them away from such thinking, turn them into normies, as it were, then I don't think that is a great tactic to use. Again, no judgments. I say that I'm on a soapbox. I don't mean to preach at anyone, but I think if as a community we want to get people to come in line with or understand the science and accept the science, then I think we need to not treat them as if they are somehow lesser than. All right, got it. We don't realize they're asleep, yada yada. Meanwhile, your loved ones are upset with you because you're not invested in all the things that are quote unquote normal. Again, this is terminology that would seem that John feels as if he has been treated as an other, which is, trust me, is never a good point, never a good position to be in. Suddenly, you have a sense of duty to God. Yeah, you are a truther because you have to be. God requires it. I've already spoken on this a couple of different times. Why God and truther? Why God and truthiness? Particularly when you stated that truthers accept all worldviews in religion, because it really seems to me that is not true. That you yourself are not backing that statement up. All right, so let's move on from reason one. Oh, I missed reason two. Thought I might have. Reason two, you have a duty to man. Duty to humankind. Let's not get gendered, folks. Duty to humankind. In Luke 10:36, the parable of the Good Samaritan, Jesus asked, "Now, which of these three do you think seems to be a neighbor to him who fell among the robbers?" He said, "He who showed mercy on him." And then Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise." All right. So, yeah, I get this. It's actually, I follow in line with this. I feel that it is my responsibility to bring good into the world. And with my particular skill set, good is to bring knowledge. I am knowledgeable about astronomy. I am knowledgeable, but to a lesser degree, about physics. And I want to bring that knowledge to as wide an audience as I possibly can, because I think that brings good into the world. So at the core of this, I would agree with this reason. By grace alone, you've been given access to truth. You consider yourself privileged. I don't, but okay. You have a sense of gratitude that flows a compulsion to share that gift with others. Not how I would have phrased it, but sure. Hello, it's okay to be nice. It's okay to care about people and be a giving person. Thank you for being considerate to others. Yada, yada, yada. You walk away with your own prosperity in the sake of humanity. You are Mother Teresa on steroids, okay? That's you. One of the things you finally find out in the truther community is the power structure actually has plans to kill everyone. This is the second time in this chapter, for those of you who are keeping count that normies, our agenda is to kill everybody. If that's true, then the only logical response is to stop what they're doing and try to stop them. Wouldn't you agree? So, definitely given this, if I thought that the people that I was communicating with wanted to kill me, then yeah, I would feel a compulsion to put out content. I would feel a compulsion to push back against that. So, yeah, I know I'm smiling. Really, I'm smiling because I'm trying not to delve too much into thinking that the implications, again, early in the book, maybe he differentiates this with a little bit more nuance, but he's essentially accusing myself, my friends, my family of wanting to kill everyone. And I'm really not okay with that. So yeah, I'm going to try to keep this light and happy. Let's see. Of course, we can all acknowledge that Mother Teresa was next level. Depends on who you talk to. I know of certain people who think that Mother Teresa was not nearly the saint that she has been promoted to be. But that is way outside this topic. But I think you can understand my point with her being an archetype of selflessness. Okay. So do you understand that one of the reasons that you get so frustrated while learning, listening to your friends and family talk about nothing, is because you have empathy towards them? Okay. One of the things that I've learned, particularly in therapy, is the importance of I and you statements. One espousing a feeling, it is best to use I statements, such as, I would rephrase that, is one of the reasons I get so frustrated while listening to my friends and family talk about nothing is that because I have empathy towards them. That doesn't, when you do that, you're getting your point across, but you're not forcing anyone to be like you. All right, slight quibble there. Truth is not optional. Psalms 51:6 says, "Behold, you desire truth in the inward parts." You don't have to accept what is true. A lot of people live in a world of lies because it's more comfortable than dealing with reality. I fully agree with that. I think that there are people who hold certain ideals because trying to understand the complexity of things is very uncomfortable. It leads to possibly an acknowledgement that the universe is not under their absolute control and that there are things that can do real harm that they have no way of combating against. And if I felt that way, yeah, I would be really uncomfortable too. Not to say that that is the case for all truthers or anything like that. Just in general, I feel that I have met people who, when confronted with this idea of a huge, complex universe, that it makes them feel anxious. It gives them a certain amount of anxiety. God's rulership over us is mandatory. If you want to enjoy his presence, make heaven, yeah. Christ gave everything that he had to restore you to the Father. Yeah. You are a bondslave to God. Therefore, slave to the truth. Okay, this is not religion. This is not a theology debate. But really don't like that term. Anyway, the truth or reason for, and to give people some context, these are the reasons why truthers hold to their ideals and are willing to risk everything because of it. Howdy, Vadim. Good to see you. Mick West. I don't know who Mick West is. You are a slave is a nice thing. You know, Christians that I've met, if you are a slave to God, then yeah, apparently that is a God's thing. I don't see it. I don't agree with that, but no kink shaming. The truther and the normie are in two different worlds. It doesn't matter if I see myself, or it doesn't matter if I see it myself, or if someone shows me. I'm here to tell you that I live in a world where when I first see that the ISS astronauts are on wires, I say something like, hey, why are these astronauts on wires? Valid. Completely valid. What I would point to, what I would push back on is, are you sure you are in fact seeing astronauts on wires? How strong is that evidence? Which then leads into questions of what is your standard of evidence, and why do the explanations for what you are seeing by experts are not sufficient? I mean, why do you reject them and still hold on to the idea of wire? Why is the wire evidence that you have so compelling that the experts are wrong? Or is it that you honestly believe, because the experts are trying to kill you, that the experts are lying to you? I'm starting to think it's the second. Or I say something like, that would mean that NASA is lying to us. This is very disturbing on so many levels. I'm going to have to look into this right away. This is really important. Yes, if NASA were lying to us, that would be disturbing. And that would, prompt me. But again, extraordinary claims, yada yada, I would want to know what your standard of evidence is to differentiate or determine if NASA is lying to us and why. Normie, however, lives in a different world. They know that this topic bumps up against the official story, so they have to report for normie duty. The normie sees the same thing that the truther sees, but they respond quite differently. When you show them these types of show-stopping observations, the normie will say, well, you can't believe everything you see on the internet. I don't know what normies you have been talking to, but that would not be my response. My response would be either I give them the reason, or I say I don't know the reason. I suspect there is one. Perhaps you should look into it a little bit further. That's a statement from a different world from the one I live in. The various proofs of any number of conspiracies are right there in front of them. They know they are real, but they just don't want them to be. I'm going to have to push back on that one. No, I do not know that they are real. And I will go off on I think, pretty stable branch to say that the normies that I know don't think they're real either, or don't know that they're real either. They are not deluding themselves. That would indicate, that statement, they know they are real, but they don't want them to be, strongly smells like you're accusing normies of self-delusion, which, again, I don't think is accurate. I don't. And again, somewhat insulting, but whatever. Facts that contradict a normie's worldview are like the cold green beans on my dinner plate when I was 10. This, again, goes back to facts. What is your standard of evidence? Why do you believe that these are facts rather than simply misconceptions? Rather than, say, optical illusions or an incomplete picture of what is going on. So, and again, it's interesting to me that he uses the term worldview. And maybe it's because I am an expert in this, in astronomy anyway, that I don't see my response to flat Earth, for example, as being a worldview. Although I suppose, to be fair, that I do have trust in the scientific community, because I know them, know some of them anyway, at least in astronomy and some in physics, that I trust biologists. When biologists tell me evolution is currently the best explanation for how life evolves from one stage to the next, yeah, I trust them. Do I look into it? No, I've got other things that I need to do. So in that sense, I guess you can consider that I have a worldview. I have a worldview in which I trust experts unless shown otherwise. Which one can then ask, well, Professor Parks, PhD, what is your standard of evidence? That is an excellent topic for for a separate stream in and upon itself. But for me, I would like to say that I would want to see, concrete evidence refuting evolution, but I'm not a biologist. If you show me evidence of something that contradicts evolution, chances are I wouldn't understand it, or at least I would not understand it to the level needed to be able to say definitively, yes, this tells me that natural selection, Darwinian evolution is not right, is not the way to go. So there again, I have to go to the experts. I have to hear their explanation. And really, to be honest with you, what I would do is I'm going to wait on the sidelines eating popcorn until they figure it out. And then once they figure it out and tell me, no, it's, magical fairy dust. That's why things evolve the way they do. I would be skeptical, but again, unless I have evidence that they to be distrustful, that is what I would go with. True lies are a thing also known as a white lie. Oh, just as a slight theoretical science is an oxymoron. Interesting. Okay. So, something of an aside. Again, I'm going to be talking out of my ass a little bit. But from my understanding of machine learning, of AI, like ChatGPT, how does ChatGPT function at the very basics of levels? My understanding is that the program, ChatGPT, either goes out or has been fed information from various different sources. And then it compiles and collates that information to be able to provide answers to any question you decide to ask it. If that is true, even on the most basic level, then it becomes even more of a priority to make sure that the information is accurate. So I'm wondering if that's going to become a problem in the future, and I'm wondering whether or not, because people are talking about AI and talking about how AI could perpetuate false information or create false information or be used to create false information. Well, the whole garbage in, garbage out. Maybe if, how do AI create that information, or how does AI answer questions? And if it is based on sort of ultimately a subjective, this is what the programmer decides is good information, is fed in, and something is out, perhaps that really needs to be looked at. I'm a quantitative sort of guy. I want to have strict boundaries as to what is considered to be good information and what is considered to be bad information. But again, I'm talking out of my ass. I don't know how ChatGPT works. I don't know how AI works. But that is something that is becoming that is a continuing conversation in my head as to how do we quantify, how do we make those guide rails? What do we set for guide rails that distinguishes, hey, this website knows what it's talking about and this website is full of shit? Like, how do we make that determination? how do we, and when that determination, how do we make the determination? Who makes that determination? And how do we get that information? How do we verify? How do we blue checkmark web pages or sources that we believe to be accurate? You know, I've run into this in terms of one of the things that I have my students do in my introductory cosmology class is they need to write term papers on broad cosmological topics like dark matter, dark energy, how the age of the universe is determined. And invariably, they come to me and ask me, where do I get that information? And I, generally speaking, give the party line of, well, if it's a trusted source, if it's, you know, a big, like space.com or a university or something like that, you're probably good to go. But I'm finding more and more that that's not, I'm dissatisfied with that. I'm dissatisfied with that, what's what I'm looking for? I'm dissatisfied with that categorization, or that kind of categorization. I want something more definitive. I want something more concrete. I don't know if I'll ever get it, but anyway. So AI will give you whatever you give it. That's my impression, essentially, is what you feed it is what it's going to use in order to derive answers. But again, I could be completely wrong, not a computer scientist. So who knows? Anyway, back to this. I remember thinking I would beg, stall, rearrange the green beans, cry, lie. To not eat green beans? That's kind of an overreaction, don't you think? Although I get it. Joking. I remember thinking I'd rather have to go to my room for the rest of the night than have to eat these nasty things. Okay. It was a royal battle. The normie is like a politician trying to cover up a scandal. They are experts in sophistry, the art of answering without ever answering, while making everyone believe as though you've been given an answer. But the truther will have none of this. Okay. Again, at this point, unless I see otherwise, I'm going to assume normie means everybody. Anyone who holds to the mainstream ideas of science, of government, of medicine, or what have you. This, again, implies intention. This implies that a normie, an average person on the street, is intentionally trying to deceive the truther. You know, I often ask people, do you think I'm lying? Do you think I'm wrong? Or do you think I'm delusional? I got my answer with this one. He thinks I'm lying. It would seem, John, if you're watching this, please feel free to correct me when we have our interview, assuming that you still consent to an interview after watching this stream. I really don't mean to disrespect you in any way, and I hope that none of this comes across as disrespectful. I'm just giving my initial kind of insights to what this is. So it would seem to me, John, that you are stating that myself and any other quote-unquote normie is in fact lying to you. Intentionally. Dawn's the truth is they will no longer rejoin the world that they once knew. Reason 5, truthers don't care what mortals think. Interesting phrase. Truthers bow to no man. That's what makes them a truther. Part of the normie attack vector is to threaten you into silence. Truthers give ultimatums, edicts, and shut-up orders. They are told, don't talk about your crazy stuff when you go to my sister's house. You know how she gets. I'll take your word for that, John. I obviously don't have context for that. But it's like an irresponsible parent telling the baby sister, don't take the razor blades away from little 4-year-old Joey. He likes to play with them and he might get upset. I really don't know what to say about that analogy. I don't think it holds true. I think they are two completely different. They are not valid as comparing one to the other, but I am not a logistician. I am not an expert in logic, so that is simply my opinion. You have a duty to obey the truth, not the mind control. All right. Oswald Chambers said the remarkable thing about God is that when you fear God, you fear nothing else. Whereas if you do not fear God, you fear everything else. All right. Again, this isn't theology. I'm not going to get into why I find that statement to be problematic, but whatever. But again, to keep kicking that dead horse. This is tying truthers, basically making the distinction that unless you believe in God, and believe in God presumably how you believe in God, then you cannot be a truther. You are either going to offend man or offend God. Pick one. You have a sense of reason 6 because you have a sense of urgency. God created us with a certain instinctive reactions to different things. When you burn your hand on the stove, you don't think about pulling it away. When you see someone attracted to you, generally there is a reaction. It's not something you have to think about. John, I would love for you to internalize that statement and then think about your views on homosexuality. And that's all I'll say about that. We are wired to have a visceral reaction to certain things, like someone being murdered. If you saw someone being murdered, you would do something about it. That would be something that psychologists would probably characterize as some sort of severe psychological disorder. Apathy is defined by the English dictionary as an absence of emotion, a feeling, yada, yada. Truthers see this type of bizarre detachment with every normie they encounter. So let me get this straight. Again, I'm going to default to the flat Earth. But again, this book covers all truth. Is because I believe. No, actually, let me go back. I would assume that creationism would be the truth and evolution is not, because I believe in, I trust the scientists that tell me that evolution is the best description. I am apathetic to the world. I am apathetic to God. I don't see it. I don't see how that would be the case. Because, again, I can see someone arguing that if I don't believe in creationism, then I don't truly follow God, and therefore I'm going to go to hell, and you really should be non-apathetic about that, but yada yada. I don't want to put words in your mouth. But it's odd that you would think that there is a bizarre detachment that people have in terms of accepting mainstream science or accepting the word of experts. Normies do not display the kind of alarm, curiosity, discernment that a normal person exhibits. They exhibit uncharacteristic anger outbursts, irrational avoidance tactics, and strong tendencies to change the subject. It's funny that you should say that, because my experience of watching, say, debates, my favorite, of course, is MC Toon, I would easily flip that onto the truther. Very frequently. Obviously, Toon has his moments where he's a bit antagonistic, a bit condescending. But I've seen debates with him where he is perfectly cordial. He is, there's no reason for it, at least not that I can see. And the person he's talking with exhibits anger. They are very passionate about the fact that the earth is flat. And they are very angry with having that belief challenged. They will come up with extraordinary reasons for why the thing that the tune or whoever or the expert is saying is. They will come up with extraordinary reasons for why what the expert is saying is not factual, is not accurate. And they will often flip the subject when confronted with why the sun, how the sun would go below the horizon, or why the sun is local, or what have you. They might turn to why does the sun goes beyond the horizon because perspective. It may be related, but it's not the same thing. Or they'll go off on a different subject entirely. They'll bring up, well, Neil deGrasse Tyson says yada yada yada. So I find those characteristics actually to be more common among truthers than I do among normies. Vadim says Toon gets caustic when reoccurring. Get in an a-hole mode. He's a human. He just has so much. He just has so much patience. Yeah, of course. Like I said, no judgment. He's been doing this for 5 years, so I can see why he might, on certain days, have a little less patience than someone else. So I applaud him for doing it. But I honestly think that he is coming from. He approaches his debates if in an honest way. But yeah, he does seem to react. He seems to react. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, I won't try to psychoanalyze Toon. Anyway, it is quite typical for them to display their unwillingness to explore any topic. Yeah. I will say for myself, I will not explore a conspiracy theory that has anything to do with the loss of life or the persecution of certain peoples. I just won't entertain it at all because I find it morally reprehensible. And that's as far as a judgment as I'm going to play on anyone. So if you believe that a certain event in the 40s did not happen, I find that to be morally reprehensible. Because the evidence is there, and to suggest that the people who are claiming that it happened, or telling you that it happened, are lying. Yeah, okay, I'm off that. Yeah. So in that sense, yes, I will not explore those topics or those particular theories because I find them to be morally reprehensible, and I won't entertain them at all. But when it comes to flat Earth, when it comes to the harm of 5G, when it comes to the jab, I'm perfectly willing to talk about these things. But again, not an expert in radio missions overly much. I can only tell you what I know about low frequency, long wavelength radiation in terms of how much energy it carries. What it does to biological tissue, not so much of an expert. The jab, again, not so much of an expert. I can parse through what I would consider to be reliable evidence and non-reliable evidence. But I would still be willing to have that conversation. Yeah, Vadim, obviously people who are more directly affected by that event, they should. I think they, not should, but I can see why they would do it, and I support them in doing it. I think that attitude or that opinion needs to be combated. I'm just not going to do it. Mainly because I'm a white dude whose family, well, actually my family did come from Germany, but we came over right after the World War I, so I have no connection to that sort of thing whatsoever, so I don't feel as if it is my place to really combat that so much. Please don't assume that all truthers believe the same stuff. No, Stephanie, I don't. I do not believe that at all. I mean, there is so much variation within just the flat Earth community as to what people believe. I certainly don't believe that conspiracy theorists or truthers are a monolithic bunch. That if you are a truther, then you must believe in this, 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 and this. Please do not get the impression that that is what I'm saying. Reason 7. Okay. I can do it. I can do this. Reason 7. I can't. Fuck it. The truther is humble. The truther is humble. Have you met Austin Witzig? Have you met Nathan Oakley or Quantum Eraser? The truther is humble? What? Okay. Sure. I heard a psychiatrist describe a good self-esteem as the ability to accept what is going on around you. The dysfunctional person, however, can't handle reality and instead engages in escapism, yada, yada, yada. Oh, and porn. Porn is escapism. Sorry. Yeah. That is not an addiction I am willing to give up. Sorry about that. They engage in endless distractions of video games. Not endless, but I do play video games. And entertainment mediums. Yada, 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 yada. The normie is engaged in powerful self-deception, which is fueled by self-preservation. Interesting. So, my reading of that is that all the normies know that the goal is to kill everyone, and so they understand that if they seek the truth, then they are putting a target on their back, that they are, in fact, putting themselves in the line of fire to be killed. That's how I'm reading that. So again, and I think I already talked about this, so yes, he is clearly spelling out that normies are self-delusional or self-deceiving. This decision to embrace persecution requires humility. If you tell the normie that the earth is flat, they think, I'm pretty smart, there's no way I could be tricked my whole life like that. They become offended at the idea that they could be so stupid as to apply such a thing to be done to them. Interesting that you use the word stupid. I really, really try not to equate someone's beliefs to their intelligence level, because I realize that there are confounding variables as to why someone might have a belief that or a view that is contrary to evidence that we have. Because this is often an accusation, very often an accusation folks make, the normies make of truthers, is that they are too stupid to realize that the earth is a globe. So I'm interested in, again, from a psychological, my armchair psychology, I find it curious that you use that term, stupid. The pride rising up overrides better judgment and drives them to draw back into the denial of facts. Okay, I'm just going to move on from that because I not only disagree with your reason 7, but I think it illustrates a certain lack of awareness of the community. It may be true in your case, but I have certainly not seen that as the norm for truthers that I've talked to. They are anything but arrogant, or anything but humble. The globe is the matrix. We've covered that, Isaiah. Reason 8, they have an instinct for survival. Why do I insist on being a truther and defying the constant mainstream narrative that demonizes conspiracy theorists? Because I don't like when people are trying to rob and murder me. I'm just funny that way. When I find out that mad scientists are spraying my family and I with aluminum particulate and barium salts, and then they are brainwashing my family so they won't even allow me to prove it to them, I get a little testy. All right. There again, we go to the idea that normies are trying to kill people. Let's see. Disclaimer, the following information is not legal or tax advice. It is for education and entertainment purposes only. Someone associated with GovCo, I love me some GovCo, committed fraud against you. And when your mom signed the birth certificate, shouldn't that be capitalized? Is mom capitalized? I think mom is capitalized. I don't know about you. When your mom, mom jokes, signed the birth certificate, secretly opted you into agreeing to pay taxes at birth. That's when you were first opted into being a 14th Amendment corporate citizen of the corporate United States Incorporated. Oh, we're getting into sovereign citizen territory. Really need to look into what the government definition of corporate means, but again, not a lawyer. It was done using fraud and presumption, and without full and honest disclosure. An employee of GovCo, you do have to follow their company policies, but under all contract law, once fraud is discovered, it voids any contract that has been made, going all the way back to the beginning. Before you discovered the flaw, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, this is going into sovereign citizen territory. All governments are privately owned for-profit businesses. Do we have evidence of this? Now, I will state that corporations have far, far too much influence on governance in the United States. I will even go further and say that money has far too much influence on the governance of the United States. But there is a difference, a fundamental difference, between the influence of lobbyists and the influences of political donors to claiming that the government is privately owned and it's for profit, which is interesting because if it was for profit, then why are Americans so in debt? Again, who's profiting off of this? Who is it? Biden? Is it the president profiting off of this, or well, presumably it would be the privately owned company that would be profiting off of this. But then also presumably that would not be Biden, or is it Biden? Again, so many questions. A state should make profit. Having a negative balance is bad, but it's not that dumb. It's not that soft set dumb. Yeah, I agree. I would actually go so far as to say that in the most ideal case, the government should be net zero. You should pay out as much as you take in. Now, obviously, circumstances are always dynamic. There are going to be cases where you need to buy stuff that you didn't have to buy last month. So, obviously, you're going to have to spend when you don't have the revenue to do it. But I get where you're coming from in making that. Privately owned. Government corporate operations are private companies operating as if they were legally constituted. All right, this is all soft-set stuff. Wow, there's a lot of it. There is a lot of it. Even more of it. All right, number 9. They take being enslaved very seriously. Truthers take being enslaved very seriously. Gotta say, who doesn't? But apparently normies. It is one thing to be unaware of the noose around your neck because of normalcy bias, but it's entirely another thing to remain that way once an informed truther comes and shows you the evidence of its existence. From my interpretation of what you were saying before, normies do know the truth, but they are self-delusional. They are forcing themselves not to know it. So wouldn't it be more apt to say that they know that there is a noose around their neck and they are trying to ignore that there is one, rather than to say that they are unaware of it entirely? Truther has smelling salts. I got to give you props for quoting Piper. We've come to kick butt and chew bubblegum, and we're all out of gum. Fantastic movie. Fantastic quote. Anyway, it's slowly dawning on the truther how they enslave us in so many ways, such as inflation. So we toil endlessly just to survive. Government is bad. Okay, we are enslaved by controlled media, which programs our minds to love our slavery. I could ask how it would do that. Why is it? So it programs our minds to love slavery, not just accept slavery, but to love it. That's worth exploring, I think. It's not really in line with science skepticism, but that's interesting. And enslaved to uncontrolled media, I think there is something to be said about that, very much like there's something to be said about the influence money and corporate America has on governance. The media, particularly, say, Fox News, is literally family-owned and family-controlled. So we have seen evidence that Fox, at least, is controlled media by the, and I've forgotten their names, and I don't care, Murdoch group, Murdoch family. So yeah, okay, there. But all news sources is all media controlled? Because then, of course, we have to ask who controls who controls CNN, who controls the Wall Street Journal, although I guess that would be Bezos. No, he owns the Post. Anyway, you get the point. They live in the Matrix. Yes, Little Wolf, that's one of my favorite quotes in the Bible, is give unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. I don't think people quite understand the meaning of that, or at least they don't share my understanding of that phrase. Personal experience over 30 years from being able to watch how the Holy Spirit interacts in different environments, that there is a direct correlation with how strongly the Holy Spirit manifests himself and the level of consecration of its ministers. Did I miss something? The more relevant churches become, the less God seems to want to have anything to do with them. Interesting. That seems to be a commentary on evangelism. How strongly the Holy Spirit manifests himself and the level of consecration of the ministers. All right. I'm not going to unpack that here. Generally speaking, God doesn't flow through music. He flows through hearts. Hey, who doesn't like a choir? What's wrong with a choir? I joke. I jest. I know. I don't. Yeah. God is offended by seeker-sensitive tactics that are employed by most churches. Okay. Yeah. All right. Mega churches are bad. Got it. Oh no, we're doubling down on this. Interesting. I'm not suggesting pastors start wearing a mitre on their heads and return us to the pomp and circumstances of the Catholic Church. But if you show a group of unsaved people some Christian rap music and a Mennonite choir, what are they going to think? What is it about the Mennonite choreography and music that is more easily interpreted as representing God? By modern standards, the Mennonite clothing style is very drab. It's a purposeful fashion statement that seeks to highlight modesty. They have a Christian uniform. Okay, that puts them apart. Mennonite musical style has a similar sentiment behind it. Okay, so I'm guessing Mennonite music is cool, rap music bad. I've heard this before. What I heard in the past, I've heard this when I was part of I heard this when I was part of my girlfriend was part of a youth group. And so because, I was a teenage boy, I followed her basically to anywhere because I was hoping to, get into her good graces and other things. And so I went to youth groups with her. And yes, I heard this constant refrain that You should not listen to anything or watch anything or consume any media that was not of a Christian nature, because it was depending on who was talking, they would just outright state it is of the devil, and therefore is going to tempt you. And then the people who don't who are a little bit more conservative, I guess, or a little bit less, or a little bit more constrained, shall we say, will essentially intimate that non-Christian music or non-Christian media is going to tempt one to commit immoral acts. All right. That's what I'm getting here. Stephanie says this is stupid. A lot of contemporary worship has become creepy. John, I have to say, this is a book entitled The Conspiracy Theorist Survival Guide. Not sure why this is in here. This seems to be a commentary on modern Christianity. Again, truthers are all over the spectrum, all over worldviews, all over beliefs. How does this help a truther who is Christian or is not Christian, or is Christian who doesn't care about this? I guess what you're saying is that they should care about it. But again, I don't know if this really serves the purpose of being this seems to be way off. This seems to be off topic, is what I'm trying to get to. Mennonite worship. Okay, gonna skip over that. If I play nihilistic headbanging death metal, it's because my heart is full of pessimism, anger, and death. Or, well, yeah, that's... If you listen to death metal, then you probably are trying to exercise those feelings. But that's just me. Okay. God created all music. John, you really do seem to be fixated on this. Again, I'm not entirely certain how this applies to conspiracy theory type stuff, but all right. Go nuts for those cronuts. Rock is a bully. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll are a lifestyle that gives God the finger. Okay. Rock music bad. Okay. I worship. It's called a worship service for a reason. You are coming to serve Him. Yeah. Entertainment is an indulgence of your pleasure. Okay. Or, not to quote the followers of Cathol, music is a way to celebrate Christ. Music is a way to celebrate our devotion to God. Potato, potato. Levites had to follow very strict rules regarding separation from the world. I know these are gross overgeneralizations, but I don't have a whole chapter to unpack this. Honestly, it seems like you do. To a certain degree, this is my discernment. To a certain degree, this is a quote-unquote, my discernment is better than your quote-unquote, your discernment conversation, so it is not an easy conversation to have. There are, however, passages and concepts to support this idea. So you are stating that your discernment is better than mine. Because biblical passages, I would even say that if you were to take them literally, which I don't, if you were to take them literally, are still open to a certain amount of interpretation, a certain amount of discernment. So your biblical passages are interpreted by you in a certain way, using your discernment, which apparently is better than someone who would disagree with you. Yeah. All right. Reason 10. You prefer justice to unrighteousness. I'm just kind of skip over this. I think we all kind of know where that's going. Truthers are nonconformists. I agree with that. It is intolerable for the truther to follow the crowd. Why? I would think that sometimes following the crowd is is a good thing. Because, you know, if the crowd is going to go get nachos, then I want nachos. Why not follow the crowd then? Why do you always have to be separate from the crowd? Why is it necessary, seemingly, to not be a part of the crowd? Oh, I just recently listened to some Slayer. It took me back. Anyway. Reason 11, being a truther is fun. This is new. I don't believe I've ever heard this statement before. Truthers are in a good way like a proverbial bull in the china shop. They get to experience the rush of finding out that NASA openly admits that the image of the Earth from space is a cartoon. That is not what NASA admits. They stand back and watch all the normies from a distance, all mesmerized by NASA's many parlor tricks. It's quite a show. All of the planets and galaxies are cartoons, and there are no stars in any of the pictures they show us, and nobody is noticing. If I might critique you here for a moment, one of the earlier reasons that you stated was that truthers are humble. I don't personally consider it being humble to sit back and laugh at people, which is presumably what you're just intimating here. Stand back and watch as the normies from a distance are all mesmerized by NASA. Doesn't quite strike me as a humble thing to do. Taking amusement at someone else's, because you believe that they are self-deceiving. You believe they are delusional. And in the context in which I believe you are speaking, you believe all of these people are going to hell. That all of these people are damned. And here, you're saying it's entertaining to watch them be damned. I don't know if you've really thought about the implications of what you're saying here. Just a thought. When you first become aware of these things, you are seized by the scope of your own blindness. Truman left the TV studio that was his home, and he was smiling. This and other revelations like it blow the top of your brain box, clearly off the top of your head. Of course, 99% of them just throw rotten eggs at you at a distance and write you out of their wills. But you're drunk with reality, blah, blah, blah. Loving and fighting for truth is fun. The fake reality is a boring lie that sucks the life out of any red-blooded human being with half a brain. Apparently, I don't have half a brain because I don't think that reality is a boring lie. I have certain problems with my reality, but it being a boring lie is not one of them. Real reality is a roller coaster thrill ride, and it's absolutely awesome. I'll agree with the first one, not so much with the second. Spellbound by superhero movies. Normies think that it's all Hollywood entertainment, but the truther knows that CERN's Hadron Collider is a real thing. Here are some fun facts that you can share at your next family gathering. According to CERN's website, July 2016, when the collider was turned up to full power, is when the collider was turned up to full power. That happens to coincide exactly with when searches on Google for the term Mandela effect commenced. Interesting. Never heard a mechanism for why the Mandela effect exists. So apparently, CERN did it. Groovy. If you look at CERN's logo, it's clearly 666. Okay. Now I gotta, all right. Now I gotta look this up. All right. CERN logo. Okay, yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, I can see how you think it's 666. Well, kind of. This is, all right, so that one, that goes that way. This one goes this way. I think you would have to kind of ignore certain lines in order to get that to work. But I could see where you'd think so. Again, I don't know why people are obsessed with that particular number. CERN produced a cryptic occult-laden video called Symmetry. You have to see it to believe it. Statue that is proudly displaying in the front yard is the Hindu god of Shiva, god of destruction. As a guess, the reason why they have it is because they are dealing with particle physicists or particle physics, and one of the most, notable things surrounding the whole area of particle physics was the atomic bomb, which Oppenheimer obviously had the famous quote, I am, which I cannot remember. It's so famous I can't remember. I am death, blah, 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 blah. Destroyer of worlds. Or maybe human memory is just crappy with us using ill-assembled monkeys. Or being ill-assembled monkeys. Maybe, I don't know. But it is the first, like I said, Adam, it is the first time that I have seen anyone give a reason for why the Mandela effect exists, which I'm down. It appears that CERN is built on the top of ancient ruins that were active during the Roman Empire. Dude, where in Europe can you go without stumbling upon Roman ruins? I think it's pretty, particularly if that area is now a bustling metropolis. So, or maybe not metropolis in this case, but it's a town. Towns are usually built on the ruins of other towns. Blah, blah, blah. Apollo, yeah. 1 year after CERN's grand opening, Sergio Bertolucci, former director of research and scientific computing of the facility, grabbed headlines when he told a British magazine that the super collider could open otherworldly doors to another dimension for a very tiny lapse of time, mere fractions of a second, but that may be just enough to peer into this open door, either by getting something out of it or sending something into it. Groovy. Quotes. Just because this dude wishes to describe what this collider can do as opening otherworldly doors bears no real impact as to what CERN does. As I am quite familiar with saying, people can be wrong. Neil deGrasse Tyson with the whole Baumgartner jump thing, he's wrong. It happens to the smartest people in the world, in the universe. They can be wrong because they are human. Now, was this person waxing poetic because he wanted as much press about CERN as possible? Probably. I would suspect that factors in somewhere, but I am not Dr. Bertolucci, so I don't really know what the hell he's talking about. But again, why do I like socks? Okay. I don't know why, Little Wolf. So CERN bad. What scenario makes you feel most significant? Scenario 1, humans and the Earth they inhabit all manage to evolve through a long process of random events. They are just part of the natural biologic process of this earthly place, no creator, yada yada. Again, well, not again, but if you are a follower of my channel, if you watch my videos, I do not believe that correlation is factual. It does not follow that if you believe in evolution or the Big Bang Theory, that you cannot believe in God. I do not accept that premise. Blah, blah, blah. This is what the narrative of the spinning ball teaches to communicate to you. No, it does not. I don't know where you are getting this from. Yes, there are certain popular scientists who are notable atheists and who have made statements to a similar effect. But that is their opinion. That is their statements. That is not the narrative of the spinning ball Earth. There are Christians like myself who, hold to this. Granted, Carl Sagan, Neil deGrasse Tyson are both notable atheists, although Carl Sagan wasn't an asshole about it. I don't know about Bill Nye. He may or may not be. I actually have never heard him speak on the subject. I know he has debated Mr. Ham about evolution, but in that debate, which I've watched, he never once says that God doesn't exist, so I have no idea. They are evangelists for Satan himself. Again, words have meaning. And as a Christian, that means something very, very specific to me. In that you're talking about, these are people, not to get theological, please allow me to get theological for a moment. From a Christian standpoint, at least my Christian standpoint, Satan wishes the absolute destruction of your soul. He wants you to die. He wants you to be dead or in the absence of God when you die. He wants you in hell. So you are saying that Carl Sagan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, and Bill Nye are active participants, not in just the killing of people, but the literal destruction of people's souls. That's my belief of what Satan is. I'm imagining your belief of what Satan is isn't too far off that. So that is a claim. Now, everyone who knows me knows that I don't like me some NDT. I think the guy's a pretentious prick. And if he ever watches my material and if I ever meet him, that's going to be so awkward. But whatever. Anyway, scenario 2, you are not an infinitesimal speck. I know where this is going. I have made many statements on this. The idea that we are on a mote of dust suspended in a vast void doesn't make me feel insignificant. Quite the contrary. It makes me feel extremely significant. It makes me feel as if I am put here, humanity is put here for a reason. And that we have to safeguard ourselves. We have to safeguard each other. We have to be good to each other. We have to, again, throwing out a theological thing, we have to build the kingdom of God here on earth. We have to make this place a paradise for people to live in so that people do not suffer. That is what that tells me. When I look at the pale blue dot, that is what it tells me. That we are, not that we are insignificant, but that we are of the utmost significance. And I hope people would say, would see it like I do. God or no, but I would hope that they would see it in a way that, no, you are significant. In this vast universe, this is it. You're here. You exist nowhere else in the universe. That makes you unique. That makes humanity truly unique, and I don't know anything more special than something that is unique. I don't know. So Satan is a god? No. That's a theological question as to, is Satan actually independent of God? I have my thoughts on that, but again, not a don't want to go into theology here. Yada, yada, yada. Mount Herman, planes, Armageddon, people on CNN. What's cooler, to believe that the technology of the space program is progressing at a normal pace, even though not much has happened since we first landed on the moon more than 50 years ago? Not much has happened? Man, you have some high expectations. Space Lab, Starlab, the shuttle program. the various rovers on Mars, the Cassini probe, Juno, like New Horizons. That's not much to happen. Could it possibly be that you are not aware of what has happened in the last 50 years? Or to realize that this ongoing spectacle of fake rocket launches is a charade. I would say that it's cooler to believe that it's progressing at a normal rate. I don't think that he's congratulating. I don't think that he's congratulating me on this. I think he's, I think he means the other people. I want nothing to do with the underworld. Well, yeah, I don't either. Chapter 13, what resources, what to do next. Subscribe to Wake Up. This is for those of you who came in late, this organization or this thing he is a part of it. He may in fact have created it. So like, share, and subscribe. Oh, by the way, if you have not already liked, share, and subscribe this video, please do so. I'm obligated to just put that out there. Subscribe to YouTube, subscribe to Twitter, subscribe to Facebook. He's available for speaking engagements. Join the mailing list. Legal education movement. Done with you outreach. Too busy to make the move to living in the private? Check out our new Done with You outreach for those that want to escape but need a more turnkey solution. Okay, I don't even know what that is. End of the world life insurance outreach. Okay, for anyone with pre-existing medical conditions, coverage is available with no medical questions. You cannot be denied. Enroll right over the phone with me in 10 minutes, the same price for everyone up to age 84. Your price will never go up. $30 a month will give you $100,000 face value at age 55. $50,000 up to age 55. Or up to age from 55 to 65, you get $50,000. From 65 to 84, you get $25,000. Does anyone else feel that this is problematic? Because I feel that this is problematic. Trying to sell life insurance, specifically end of the world life insurance. Actually, I don't even know what that means. Always buy your life insurance pre-trib if you're post-trib. Guessing tribulation is revelation? Or the rapture? I'm very confused. I'm very, very confused as to why you would need this. Are you somehow suggesting that this life insurance is not the traditional sort of life insurance where it goes to... I don't know. I don't know what this is about, other than you are attempting to sell people life insurance, which I kind of have an issue with. End of the world retirement planning. Okay. John, again, if you're watching this, I find it problematic that resources, what to do next. This entire chapter is focused on what you could provide. It's not about, it's not about other people's other resources, other communities that truthers can join or to find outreach with, particularly for those who are not Christians, because as you've stated, the truther movement is a conglomeration of many different beliefs and worldviews. So I find it problematic that all of your resources are to your benefit. That makes me not want to trust you. Not that I won't have a conversation with you, but it makes me question your reasons. It makes me question your intentions. if your intentions are in fact honorable. I'm not saying they aren't honorable. I'm just saying this chapter makes me question it. All right. I am now getting to the 2-hour mark of this stream. So I want to go back to the table of contents and see if there are any things that I want to immediately get me or immediately stick out to me. Becoming truther. The truther doesn't trust official dumb anymore. Whatever that is. Slaves who love their slavery. Scientism. Yeah, maybe. Conspiracies exist. The Earth's core is molten. The Milky Way galaxy is a cartoon. Yeah, it kind of has to be. The Milky Way galaxy is vast. Is huge. It's conservatively 40,000 parsecs across, or 100,000 light years, if you like that sort of thing. It's impossible for us to have sent a probe out beyond the Milky Way galaxy to turn around and take a picture. So, yeah, the Milky Way galaxy has to be a cartoon. Other galaxies are not, but the Milky Way is. I'm smarter than... Oh, yes. Yes. I know where I'm going. Dun, dun, dun. I'm smarter than all the astrophysicists in the entire world. I'm smelling a whole lot of Iggy vibes off this. Occasionally I am asked why I think it's possible that I can know more about the shape of the Earth than the top astrophysicists of universities. Let me parse that for a second. Astrophysicists are not the experts on the shape of the Earth. That would be PhD Tony and his friends, geologists or surveyors. They really know what the shape of the Earth is. All us measly astrophysicists can say is, yeah, it's got to be round because of, gravity. But the specific shape? No. You need to go talk to the geologists for that. So, anyway, hopefully Tony will appreciate that shout out if he actually sees it. Anyway, in response, I simply point out that the astrophysicists have an agenda that will typically color their belief system. They are either subconsciously deceived by intense peer pressure and wildly held assumptions, or they are out and out lying to keep their job. Again, I have asked folks who have come onto my channel whether or not they believe that I am lying, delusional, or wrong. And so apparently I am either one of the first two. This is not complicated. If they don't want to play ball with the power structure, they get censored or killed. I, however, are not saddled with that hindrance. We have heard from pilots, doctors, and scientists that have told us privately, I know the Earth is flat, but if I go public, I'll lose my job. Look at all the doctors who lost their licenses if they spoke out against the jab. The pressure to conform is intense. Since I have already lost everything, I can be more unbiased than the astrophysicist. My income is not in jeopardy if I embrace what is true. Additionally, just because they have PhDs does not mean they can't be compartmentalized mind control victims. That's a bit insulting. I recently did a live stream with a commercial helicopter pilot on my channel about flat Earth. Although he finally realizes the Earth is flat, he has said very few of his fellow pilots knew it. Okay, that's a misspelling, but hey, at this point, it's very well edited text. That's the only grammatical error that I've found so far, so I'm not going to quibble on it. So excellent editing for that. Okay, I've heard this before. I've encountered this before. So howdy, the warrior. All right, so My options are, let me see. Point out that astrophysicists have an agenda that will typically color their belief system. They subconsciously are deceived by intense peer pressure or wildly held assumptions. They are out and out, or they are out and out lying to keep their job. John, I would love to discuss this with you more online, but I will say this. It is clear to me from that statement that you have no idea how science is done from a practical standpoint. You do not know what it is to go through grad school. You do not know what it is to do your own research, to actually do your own research, to get published. And yeah, the statement that you are out and out lying to keep your job, no, I can assure you, well, maybe they're lying to me, but I've never once had anyone talk about, even remotely, the idea that they have to censor themselves or they will lose their job. Now, you brought up the whole medical community with the vax, and maybe that is true in the medical community. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. But you put this under, I'm smarter than all astrophysicists in the entire world. So, therefore, I'm going to say that no. And from an astrophysicist standpoint, never heard of anyone being censored about something or they'll lose their job. Now, will they get censured? No. Will they get fired? No. Are they going to get killed? I really would like to see some evidence of that. Please show me evidence of a scientist who has died under mysterious circumstances so that I can even entertain the notion that GovCo knocked his ass off, or her ass off, or their ass off, because of their beliefs. Now, the worst thing that could happen, what I have seen, is when you are a scientist who has, astrophysicist, who has a viewpoint which is contrary to the accepted norm, or the accepted science, is that you might get shunned, you might not get funding, you might be, folks may not want to work with you, but that's it. That's the worst it goes. And in those cases, those people are generally espousing something that is really out there, that really goes against our kind of fundamental understanding of science, that they are putting out there things that really need a whole lot of observational evidence to support it. Should we shun these folks? I don't know. I don't have an answer for that. I would not want to shun anyone for having beliefs that they have. But one of my standards of evidence in astrophysics is that your ideas have to be testable for me to even consider them. And for me to consider them as a possible replacement of something, seriously consider them as a possible replacement of something, and I just spoke to my cosmology class about this very same thing, is if you want me to take that into consideration as an alternative to general relativity, you've got to show me evidence that I understand and that I support that supports your theory as opposed to general relativity. Effectively, general relativity has to, either general relativity's prediction has to be proven demonstrably false, which hopefully Euclid has a chance to do. Hopefully it does, because that would be really groovy. But, or it can give a definitive answer to something that general relativity can't. So yeah. Yeah, so this section, all that tells me is that you generally do not understand how the scientific community operates. And I would love to have a conversation with you about what one does in grad school and what a scientist does in research once they are outside of grad school, and what the academic community is like postgraduate. So, with that, all of that being said, I think I am going to end it off there. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for those who have Vadim, Little Wolf. I think Judy is still in the audience. For those of you who have been with me for the last 2 hours, definitely a big thank you for that. And for those of you who watch this in the future, thank you for watching it all the way to the end. I really, really appreciate any kind of support that you, the support that you find me interesting enough and the subject matter interesting enough that you would watch this point. So again, thank you. I would also like to thank Judy Bassett and Dora Naku, who are my patrons. So if you would like to support me financially, I'm currently not monetized on YouTube, so right now the way to do it would be either through PayPal or Patreon. So please consider donating if you would like to help me with more content. So for some reason I now have 2 chats open. You hope that I do that, Vadim. You hope that I do that stream. Again, mine like a plastic busted trap. I don't know what stream you're talking about. I'm guessing the stream where I talked to John. Judy. All right. Well, good night. Anyway, I got sidetracked. Patreon, if you want to support me. I will be going. My next stream hopefully won't get derailed. I had already had to postpone it twice, but the next stream that I'm going to do is going to be on Sunday morning, 10 a.m. I think it's scheduled for 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Savings Time, or whatever the hell we are at right now. It might be 10, might be noon. It's up there. You can check it out. And what I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to be doing something very similar to what I've done here. I am going to be looking through a textbook on relational mechanics, and I'm going to be looking at Dr. Sungenesis's book, Was Galileo Wrong? And I will be giving my honest opinions on what these things said, because back before I mentioned Austin Whitsitt, it has become to my attention that Mr. Whitsitt has gone to a recent Flat Earth convention, and he is telling people that an astronomy professor at an observatory is supporting the idea that relational mechanics is kinematically and dynamically equivalent to relativity. And I am being a bit presumptuous in saying that he is talking about me. As far as I know, he has not actually named me in this. He has simply said an astronomy professor at an observatory. But I'm going to go under the assumption that he's talking about me because we've had this conversation. And I am going to nix that idea. I do not believe that relational mechanics is dynamically and kinematic equivalent to general relativity. Maybe it's kinematically equivalent, but it sure as fudge is not dynamically equivalent. So, yes, talk with the author of the book. I will, I am waiting to hear back. Hopefully, if he sees this video, he will not be dissuaded from actually talking to me. But, yeah. All right. With that all said and done, I am going to sign off. And I hope to see you all on Sunday, or at least some of you on Sunday. And, yeah, peace out and clear skies.